Hi, friends. For today's reading lesson, we will focus on poetry again, and we're going to be looking at figurative language. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on similes and metaphors. So what do all these fancy words mean? Let's take a look. It says here, when a poet uses figurative language in their poem, they are using a word or phrase that does not have its normal, everyday, literal meaning. They use figurative language to make their writing more dramatic. Here's an example. So if you were speaking and using literal language, if you were writing literally, you might say the sun is shining. And that's very simple to understand, right? Look up at the sky and the sun is shining. So that's literal. If we want to make our writing a little bit more interesting, a poet might write and change this into using figurative language, using this type of a sentence. The sun was shining like a jewel in the sky. Do you see how we went from the sun is shining to the sun was shining like a jewel in the sky? And it sounds a little bit more interesting. We can kind of see what the sun might look like. It's sparkling like a jewel. And that is how we use figurative language. That's a simple way to show it to you. Today, we're going to look at similes and metaphors. And so this word is similes and this word is metaphors. So let's take a look at an example of a simile, okay? Again, the difference between both is that they're going to be using different types of words. How are they similar? Their similes and metaphors are similar because they compare two unlike things, two completely different things, but we can find a way to connect them. Let's see how similes do that. They comparing two unlike things using the words like or as. And here's an example. The trees stood still as giant statues. Now, this poet that said this, the trees stood still as giant statues, used the word as. Do you see that? Okay. And what are they comparing? Trees and statues. What is the connection there? Trees and statues don't seem like they're anything alike, but we can connect them by showing the reader that they're really still, right? So that's the connection right there. That's how they're being compared. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. The train whistle was like a sad song. Here we have the word like. Remember, a simile might have the word like or the word as. Train whistle and a sad song. We might not think that they're connected, right? They're completely unalike, but we can connect them together because we're thinking about the way the whistle sounds. And so to someone, this particular poet, the whistle sounded like a sad song. So those are two examples of some similes. You can see the other ones down below over here. Metaphors are different. So even though they compare two unlike things, right? The way they're connected is by using the words is, are, were, or was. Those are linking verbs. So here is an example. The dog bark is a song. So to this poet, the sound of a dog barking is sounding like a song, something that is beautiful, right? Somebody else might find it annoying. Who knows? So this person has said the dog bark is a song and has used the verb is. Okay, let's take a look at this one. I'm going to go down over here, actually. The shadows are stains on the snow. So think about a shadow. Think about your shadow on snow. It might look a little gray, right? The snow is white. Your shadow looks a little gray. It looks like a stain on the snow. We wouldn't think of shadows and snow as stains on the snow looking anything alike, right? But they're comparing it and they're using the word are to connect it. Okay, so those are examples of similes and metaphors. Let's see how this plays out in a poem. So I'm going to read Cold Winter Day by a poet that we don't know who wrote this poem. So we just say poet unknown. And we're going to look for two similes and two metaphors. We're going to identify them. So here we go. The cold winter day. The day is dark as night. The clouds are fields of gray. The sun is a block of ice. No one wants to come out and play. The swings hang like skeletons. The sandbox is a pool of rocks. All the kids are hiding like a jack in the box. So let's identify the two similes. What are the two similes here? And I think I'm going to highlight similes. I'm going to highlight in yellow. And metaphors, I'm going to highlight this in green. Let's do green. Okay. Oop, wrong one. Okay, there you go. So 2 similes. Now don't forget, if we go back up here, similes, what words do they use? Like or as. So if we go down over here, let's see what is being compared with the words like or as. Okay, so the swings hang like skeletons. I'm looking at this one right here. Let's take a look at this one. What does this mean? This is a simile. This is a simile. Do you see how it uses the word like? Okay. So what does that mean? The swings hang like skeletons. Can you imagine those swings? They're empty. There's nobody there, right? And the playground is empty. It's a cold day. And the swings are just going back and forth, and they possibly have chains. Think about skeletons, right? Connected by the links of the bones, kind of just hanging. And so now swings and skeletons are completely unalike, but they've made them, they've connected them, they've compared them because maybe the way they look when they're hanging, right? Kind of just moving and drifting back and forth. So that is a simile, and that's what it means. That's an example of a simile. Another example of a simile is all the kids are hiding like a jack in the box, right? An example of a simile. Another example, all the kids are hiding like a jack in the box. Kids, jack in the box, nothing alike, but we can connect them. If you think about a cold winter day, everyone's inside, right? And think about that box, the jack in the box. The actual clown is inside, tucked away inside the box. So making that connection. And so when it's a nice day, everybody just comes out. So all the kids are hiding like a jack in the box. Here's that word like again for the similes. Okay. So we did similes. Metaphors. Metaphors, don't forget, we go back up here, they have linking verbs, is, are, were, or was. Okay. So if we go down over here, let's take a look at this one. The clouds are fields of gray. So if we take a look at that, the clouds are fields of gray. What is that supposed to mean? Clouds and fields, well, one's up in the sky and one's on land, nothing alike. But what does that mean? The clouds are fields of gray. Well, have you ever looked up at the sky and seen lots and lots and lots of patchy gray clouds? And we can kind of imagine that if we look out onto a field, we might see patches of not clouds, but grass. And so now comparing patchiness, right? In the sky, the clouds are fields of gray. Fields, right? So looking at that comparison, and we're looking at the word are here, that's what makes it a metaphor. Okay. What's another metaphor here? The sun is a block of ice. The sun is a block of ice. Here's another example of a metaphor. Okay. So sun and ice, we might think actually there might be complete opposites, right? One is really hot, one's really cold. How do they connect it? A block of ice. Maybe the size of it, how big it is, right? And feeling that it's so massive, the sun is a block of ice. The day is dark as night. Now I'm reading this back again because maybe this part over here, the sun is a block of ice. The words before it might give us a clue why that's being compared. The day is dark as night. The clouds are field of gray. The sun is a block of ice. No one wants to come out and play. Do you notice that the size of the sun is so big, the ice is so big, but not just that it's so cold outside that the sun even doesn't seem warm enough, right? So the sun is a block of ice. Beautiful ways to make our writing more interesting. And the word here is the word is, the linking verb is. Okay, so those are 2 examples of metaphors and similes. We're going to ask you today to look at the same chart that I just showed you, and then you have a really great poem here. It's called My Favorite Day, and it's going to look a little different on your document just because it's broken over here. It's not broken on your document, but we hope you enjoy reading this poem, and we're going to ask you to identify the stanza, the stanzas, the lines, rhyming words, and the theme, and then identify metaphors and similes, just like we did up here. Okay, so one of the things that I want to also go over is the word theme. And some of us have forgotten that, theme actually does mean a message from a poem. It's a little tricky. It's not just picking out a line from the poem, but what message is the poet trying to send here? So in this poem, Cold Winter Day, the message, the theme is that it's so cold, that it seems like the playground is empty, no one wants to come out, and everybody just wants to be inside. And it seems like the outside world is so much more emptier, right? So that's a cold winter day. That's the message right there. So as you look at poems, the theme is a message in the poem. What message is the poet trying to send? We hope you enjoy reading My Favorite Day, the poem My Favorite Day. And if you are feeling stuck or confused or have any questions, make sure you reach out and ask us, okay? We look forward to seeing you later. Bye. Have a good day.